Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out ZBCN's price chart and see what is happening in the short term. And I think everything is right now at least sort of kind of going according to the bullish play. But before we get into all that, at first, real quick, we are going to talk about this very important tweet and clip from Zebec's account. And in case you missed it, in this clip, Simon, their CEO, basically talked about where the project at the moment is heading, and he explains that Zebec is not trying to replace the traditional banking system. It is actually trying to connect directly into it and make it work much better. And this is, in my view, kind of a smart approach, and it's kind of like a Trojan horse move, meaning instead of fighting banks, Zebec wants to plug right into their core infrastructure. And here is what that actually means. And I think as first we have to talk about how are they going to do this exactly. You see, it's very important to note that ZBCN isn't directly actually touching the US banking rails itself. No, they are doing it through Codapay, which is a licensed payment provider that already has access to the ACH network. Zebec is the technology layer in this scenario, and Codapay is the legal and regulatory bridge that connects it to the US financial system. Second, let's talk about the whole strategy, and the key messaging here is going to be the integration, not replacement part, because Zebec again isn't asking anybody to leave their banks. That's just absolutely, in my view at least, stupid. It is giving businesses and users a new dashboard, which is basically like a faster programmable layer that works on top of the existing accounts, meaning you don't really need to change your bank account. Okay, nobody is going to do that, and Zebec's team fully understand this. And third, let's talk about the sheer ambition of this goal, because the CEO in here, Simon, didn't just mention ACH. No, he also talked about connecting to Fedwire potentially and FedNow, which are the high speed and high value settlement systems managed directly by the Federal Reserve itself. And that, my friends, is like a very big statement. And it means Zebec wants to. Again, I'm not gonna say they are like absolutely going to reach to this goal and the road to get there is going to be like absolutely smooth. No, I'm just saying that they want to become part of the actual backbone of how money moves in the United States. And the reason that, in my view, this strategy to a degree could most likely work is because ZBCN, it's very important to know that is actually a US based project, and that is, in my view, very critical, because to plug into systems like, for example, ACH or Fedwire, you need full compliance with US laws, things like, for example, KYC, AML, and OFAC checks, and a foreign company would not even get through the door, especially with the recent administration talking about the America First policy. And finally, last but not least, this is another advantage of being a US-based project. Building in United States actually gives Zebec what you would call a home field advantage, because they fully understand the regulations, they know how local companies actually operate, and they are integrating right into the biggest financial market in the world, which is fantastic. So the real question in here is this: how big can this potentially get? Now, at this point, I'm just going to do some speculating. I'm not going to say that they are absolutely 100% are going to achieve their goals. No, I'm just explaining what they have in their mind. Okay, please understand that. And honestly, the potential in here is massive, because what Zebec is doing, it actually goes way beyond the crypto market. You see, they are trying to position themselves to become the programmable layer for the entire US financial system. And that sounds probably quite ridiculous, and I know it probably is. But again, I'm just trying to explain that even if they manage to attract a fraction of the adoption, it will be awesome for them. And here is why this is actually important. You see, right now, systems like ACH and Fedwire, they handle trillions of dollars every single day. And this really shows you just how big of a market are we right now dealing with. And these systems are fast, secure, and trusted. But by today's standard, they are sort of kind of dumb, in a way that they are just moving money. They cannot really follow conditional rules or maybe a smart logic. And Zebec is sort of kind of trying to change that, because in case you don't know, with Zebec technology, payments can become a better smart. And for example, a company could set up an automatic rule that says, I don't know, move this amount of money in case shipment X is going to get delivered, generally something like that. And the best part about all this is that once a business integrates ZBCN for payroll or maybe supplier payments, it's very important to know that this is going to be extremely hard to leave. Okay, the payroll business is generally what is known as a sticky business model, and once a company's financial infrastructure runs on Zebec, I'm gonna tell you right now, it tends to stay there, which will create a stable long-term revenue for the project. And that, my friends, is what we want to see. And here is where things get kind of sort of even more exciting. You see, this whole strategy is going to turn Zebec into a bridge between potentially Web 2 and Web 3, meaning a business might start, for example, running traditional ACH payroll through Zebec, and later down the road, maybe with a few clicks, they're going to be able to start paying part of those salaries in stable coins or even crypto if they want. Actually, you know what, the stable coin part I think is a bit more realistic, but the point is that they are going to be able to do so through the same platform. So as my final thoughts, if they are going to be able to successfully execute this integration, not necessarily replacement approach, okay, they could end up powering the programmable backbone of US financial itself. And that, my friends, unfortunately is kind of a lie, because there's always competition and Zebec is not really that much of a big project. So let's just be a bit realistic and say this. Even if they are going to manage to attract like a fraction of the adoption, since payroll is kind of a sticky business, I think even that is going to be absolutely massive for them, especially considering their market cap, which is, I don't know, maybe somewhere around a couple of $100 million. That's not really that big, and not a whole lot of people at the moment know Zebec and what they are doing. So if you are here and you are interested in Zebec technology, I think you still might be sort of kind of early. So in terms of fundamentals, I think the future for Zebec is quite bright. Now, what about technical analysis and what is happening in the short term? Let's go on the live chart and see what might be the next likely move. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about ZBCN, we were right around this high in here, and the idea was that if we want to be bullish, then okay, number one, this move has to continue a little bit more, and number two, after it's over, we need to see a consolidation followed by yet another move on the upside. Now, I want to be very clear. This 5-wave impulsive structure that you are seeing right now in Zebec's chart, I actually drew this one before it actually happened. And to just prove you that I'm not actually lying, let's go, where is it? Okay, there we go. As you can see, in the previous video, we were right around the end of our C leg, and the idea was if we get a 5-wave down in order to take the low of our VP, it's not going to be a good sign. And as you can see, in Zebec, we basically got like a very clear cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave on the downside. The points that I'm trying to make is this: Elliott waves, or generally I would say technical analysis, it's not some made up BS, okay? It's very important to know that Elliott waves is essentially, I would say, a collection of patterns that has a habit of happening a lot in the markets. And even if you go back, I don't know, maybe 40-50 years ago, you are still going to see that we are having Elliott waves structures. So again, this is one very important sign suggesting the market does actually behave in a pattern, but at any given moment, maybe those patterns are going to change a little bit. For instance, after 2020, and okay, don't take this please the wrong way, but I'm gonna say after those stimmy checks, the charts did actually, in my view, got a whole lot more complicated. And instead of having just beautiful ABC zigzags or maybe double bottom structures, we just got into a period of time. In fact, I would say we are still in it right now, where we are just constantly seeing WXYs, triangles, ABC flats, running flats, so on and so forth. Analyzing the chart since 2020, especially I'm gonna say in the forex market when it comes to currency pairs, has gotten, in my view, much more complicated, but the general patterns overall I think they are still very much similar. So if you are looking for a way of analyzing the chart, may I suggest maybe pay attention to Elliott waves and also possibly some harmonic patterns. You're not going to regret it. Now, what happened in Zebec? So we were saying if we take this importance low and get our move done from these areas, it's not going to be a good sign. And at that point, we need to consider the possibility of having yet another ABC zigzag structure in here. And in terms of the subwaves, I think you know it. If you are a regular viewer of the channel, we must have 5 down into a correction for wave B. Let's say in this case WXY, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down into C. Now let's go around here. Okay, so I think we can all agree this is a 5 wave down. Followed by that, in my view, this is a picture perfect A, B, C in form of a zigzag to about the highs. And what is going on right now? You see, we can consider many different counts. Scenario number 1, for example, suggests that this is 1, this is our wave 2, and right now we are having another good move down into wave 3, 4, 5 in order to complete the subwaves for our second zigzag right in here, and that is going to be on a higher degree into this wave Y, completing the subwaves from the highest high in here about, let's say, 0.46 of a cent for a WXY in form of a double zigzag, which I'm really hoping that is going to be into our wave 2, and after it's over, what are we going to have? Yep, hopefully a good move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. So you see, this scenario, although in like very short term, probably in the next 3 to 5 days, is a bit bearish, but overall it does suggest we are quite close to reach to our final low in Zebec chart, and a move up is going to come hopefully soon. Can we have some other counts? The answer is yes. For instance, you can say this is ABC up, that's fine, but you can also argue maybe this is ABC down followed by an ABC on the upside. This can be, excuse me, ABC down. This might be another ABC up. So maybe from this point, a correction has started in Zebec, and it's going to be in form of, you know it if you are a regular viewer, an ABCDE, a triangle structure into our wave B. Now, what's the difference between this count and the previous one? Well, this one suggests that this is probably it, our 5 wave on the downside. And if you go on some lower time frames, maybe 5-minute chart, trust me, you are able to find a 5 wave in here, and it suggests that from the current point we can get a very strong bounce back, and we don't really need to visit the lows anymore. Question: which scenario is my primary case? I'm gonna say probably the previous one, suggesting maybe we are having a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm actually expecting maybe like another 10% move at least on the downside in order to get to these levels, because we got this move down and the following bounce back off of it a bit too fast, and as a result of it around the shadows, I think we do have some important gaps, and in my view gaps 95+% of the time are going to get filled. So in Zebec, I'm telling you right now, please expect, I'm gonna say bare minimum like a 10% move on the downside, and then let's hope it's going to be at the low of our whole correction structure. The point that I'm trying to make is this: in like very short term, maybe expect a move down, followed by that we should definitely expect a very strong bounce back, and the moment that in our bounce we manage to take this important high about 0.416 of a cent, at that point we can be bullish with a whole lot more confidence, since we're not really going to be able to find off of the highs to about the lows a complete 5 wave in order for us to be absolutely pessimistic, and we have to kind of consider having in this whole area a correction structure and not an impulse, suggesting this move up is actually going to continue, and hopefully actually this is going to be the beginning of a new uptrend in ZBCN. So overall, I don't really think we are having anything to be worried about, but you know, in the short term, maybe expect another 10 to 20% move down. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Zebec's chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.